Today, an alarming development unfolded in southern Ukraine, where the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, Europe's largest, was completely cut off from the national power grid. Ukrainian officials accuse Russian forces of deliberately disconnecting the plant's last remaining external power line, creating a dangerous situation that risks the facility's safety systems. The event occurred early in the morning when power engineers noticed a sudden drop in voltage feeding the plant from the Dnipro region. Within minutes, all external transmission lines went offline, leaving the facility dependent solely on emergency diesel generators. For a brief but critical period, Zaporizhzhia, which houses 6 nuclear reactors, was operating in what experts describe as island mode, an emergency state in which the plant relies entirely on backup systems to keep reactor cooling active. Ukraine's state energy operator Energoatom confirmed that the disconnection was not caused by weather or technical malfunction, but by intentional interference from Russian-controlled infrastructure on the eastern bank of the Dnipro River. This marks the 8th total blackout the plant has suffered since Russia's full-scale invasion began, each time raising global concern about nuclear safety. Satellite imagery and transmission data suggest that Russian forces rerouted electrical flow to a secondary substation, effectively isolating the plant from Ukraine's grid. In doing so, Moscow appears to be testing the limits of its control over the region while using the nuclear plant as a strategic bargaining tool. Analysts say that by cutting power, Russia can pressure Kyiv and the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, into negotiating inspection and management concessions. In recent months, Russian engineers stationed inside the facility have gradually connected the plant to temporary power lines leading toward occupied Crimea, integrating it into Russia's own energy system. If completed, this would allow Moscow to siphon power southward, effectively turning the Zaporizhzhia plant into a political hostage within the war's broader energy campaign. Ukraine's energy minister warned that each disconnection increases the chance of a nuclear safety incident, emphasizing that the cooling pumps require constant power to prevent reactor overheating. Although 5 of the 6 reactors remain in cold shutdown, residual heat still demands continuous cooling. Even a brief loss of power can cause water circulation to stop, a risk that recalls the early stages of the Fukushima disaster. The International Atomic Energy Agency, which maintains observers at the site, confirmed the loss of external power, but stated that the backup diesel generators had successfully activated within seconds. The agency's director, Rafael Grossi, described the situation as extremely fragile and unsustainable, urging both sides to establish a permanent protection zone around the facility. He reiterated that nuclear safety should never be used as leverage in military conflict. Despite these warnings, the region remains under heavy military tension. Russian troops continue to occupy the plant grounds and surrounding areas, while Ukrainian forces maintain positions across the river near Nikopol, roughly 10 kilometers away. Regular artillery exchanges in the vicinity add to the instability, with reports of shelling near the plant's cooling ponds as recently as this week. Energy experts say that cutting power to the plant serves 2 main Russian objectives. First, it demonstrates control over critical infrastructure in occupied territories, signaling to both Ukraine and Western governments that Moscow retains leverage even outside the battlefield. Second, it allows Russian forces to simulate how the facility would perform if permanently integrated into Russia's energy grid, a process they have been preparing for months. However, the strategy carries enormous risks. Should diesel generators fail or fuel supply lines be disrupted, the reactors could lose cooling capacity within hours. Energoatom reports that the plant currently has enough diesel reserves for 10 days of operation, but logistics convoys bringing additional fuel are frequently delayed or blocked by Russian checkpoints. Western nuclear safety analysts warn that prolonged reliance on emergency systems is not sustainable. Unlike conventional power stations, nuclear plants are not designed to function in isolation. Every blackout adds stress to safety mechanisms and increases the probability of mechanical failure. Furthermore, Ukraine argues that the move violates multiple provisions of international nuclear law, including the Convention on Nuclear Safety which requires continuous and secure electricity supply for reactor facilities. Kyiv has called for additional IAEA missions and the immediate restoration of full power connections under Ukrainian oversight. From a broader strategic perspective, this episode highlights how energy, and specifically nuclear energy, has become a new front in the conflict. While missiles and drones dominate the headlines, control over electrical grids, substations, and generation capacity now determines who holds real leverage on the ground. Meanwhile, in the city of Energodar, where the plant's staff still resides, tension is rising. Residents report increasing military patrols and restrictions on movement, while workers inside the facility operate under constant supervision by Russian security forces. Several engineers have reportedly refused to participate in maintenance activities involving redirection toward the Russian grid, citing safety concerns. As of this evening, Ukrainian authorities confirm that emergency power continues to sustain the plant safely, and radiation levels remain normal. But the incident serves as a stark reminder that Europe's largest nuclear facility sits at the intersection of war, politics, and danger, a volatile mix that could escalate with a single mistake. This isn't just about electricity, said one Ukrainian official. It's about control and the power to decide what happens if the lights go out. If you found this report informative, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the latest frontline updates and in-depth analysis of the war in Ukraine. Your support helps independent reporting reach more viewers around the world. Stay tuned, and as always, we'll keep you informed.